The making of the scallopini involves some very heavy-duty and dangerous pieces of equipment, a sharp knife and a pounder. Now, let me show you how we make chicken scallopini. The first thing that we want to do is trim the chicken breast nicely. As you can see, most of the fat I've taken off. Then, using the knife, you want to cut the chicken breast at a slant like this, because this way it will spread even wider when we make scallopini out of it. Make them as thick as you want, and depending on how big you want your final scallopini to be. And the reason why I like to give it a wider slant is because this way when we pound them, they will expand even more. A lot of people say, well, you could just use the pounder and pound right at it. I find that when the pounder meets the flesh of the chicken directly, one of the biggest problems that we have is that it tears it apart. Biggest mistake that people make more often than not is to use this part of the pounder. Always use the flat side, and with a certain gentleness, move on to it and give it the shape that you want. So what I like to do is with a flat side, a little bit like this, and you can see how it does expand. We have pounded all the scallopini to perfection. Now I want to put them into this plate, and I want to show you a very simple technique on how to flavor them and how to actually run them through the flour. The part of the flour is very important. First, I like to get them off the cutting board just like this. Before we even put the flour, what I like to do is to salt and pepper them on both sides. Now watch what I do in terms of flouring it. You put it lightly on one side, lightly on the other. There's an excess of flour. You want to shake it off. Why? If you don't shake the flour off before you fry them, this flour will go to the bottom of the pan and will burn. One more. Here we go on one side. Here we go on the other side. And then shake it off gently, just like this. And you continue until you've done them all. Well, the scallopini are perfectly floured. I washed my hands and now, I'm sorry I did that laughter. I love it. But now we're ready to fry. Let me show you. Over medium high heat, bring the olive oil to a nice hot sizzle. And now we're going to sear our scallopini. Remember, we're gonna brown them, but we're still gonna keep them a little bit raw on the inside because we'll finish the scallopini cooking inside the sauce. One of the great things about the scallopini is that by browning them on the outside, we are searing all of the important juices on the inside. So when they will braise into the sauce will not only coat them on the outside, but exchanges wonderful elements of flavor. Think of yourself as if you're a painter, and the ingredients that you use in the making of the recipe are these beautiful colors that you can see in your eyes, you can feel in your heart, and you can imagine. Cooking is like painting. When you turn the scallopini, always make sure that you turn them away from you. Why? If I was to drop this, the oil will splash outward in that way, never toward me. Hot oil like this, if not careful with, burns. How do I know? I had my few moments where I learned my lesson. Give it no more than another minute, and this part of the browning of the scallopini is done. We got the perfect consistency that we want, and now we take the scallopini and we move them away, put them back in the plate, and in the pan where we cook the scallopini, we're going to make the sauce. Now, before we get started, one of the things that I like to do is to take some of the oil in which we cook the chicken out of the pan. I've used abundant oil because it's very important that the chicken has enough of an amount of hot oil all the way around that does the perfect browning, but this oil is way too much for the sauce. So I'll take a couple of tablespoons out. Once you've taken the oil out and you have the exact amount that you want, usually I like to have no more than 2, maybe 3 tablespoons at most of oil in the pan, especially if you're cooking for the large group. This is a single serving, so it's a lot less. I want to make sure that you reheat the oil once again. Just the time that it takes you to move the oil away from the pan into a container lowers the temperature of the oil. And what I want the oil to do at this point is to really brown all the ingredients, because the bit of browning that we're going to get is going to add a lot of flavor. Our first addition is the garlic. I cut the garlic nice and thick because I want this garlic to be at the base of the sauce, and it will cook over a long period of time and soften up. Together with the garlic, we add some chopped white onion. Even red onions would do well for you. And here is the best surprise of them all. These are sun-dried tomatoes that are packed in olive oil. I drain the olive oil And now we're adding the sun-dried tomatoes to the sauce, and this will make a fantastic base for us. Why do I like sun-dried tomatoes? What makes them unique? In the process of drying the tomatoes, all the flavor of the tomatoes themselves, it's concentrated by 1,000 times. But yet, over the gentle way in which the sun treats them, over a period of time, there's a wonderful sweetness to the tomato which is natural to them. And in this form, they have a pop of flavor, a presence of their own, and they have the ability as a glue to build a base that accepts all these other flavors and brings them to the next level. While the tomatoes are cooking so nicely, the next thing that I like to do is to add the parsley. If you don't like parsley, one of the things that you can substitute it with would be basil. That's an excellent addition, the aroma that we have in here. You notice that at this point, I'm not putting any salt or any pepper. There's quite a bit of salt within the context of the sun-dried tomatoes. And what I like to do instead is wait until the sauce comes to the very end and then taste for the amount of salt and pepper. And if I feel at that point to add some more, I do. Once you add too much salt, you can't go back. It is at this point that I like to add a little bit of white wine. What we want to do here is twofold. We want to dislodge the brown bits at the bottom. And you can see it right now how the wine, as it's reducing, is already changing color. Unbeknownst to you, many of the juices of the chicken, which we had previously cooked into this pan, have reduced to such an intensity that they're stuck to the bottom of the pan. Now, this is a wonderful non-stick pan, but you still have a wonderful resolution of these juices at the bottom. The wine frees them and renders them liquid again and makes them part of the sauce. And this is an additional flavor which is essential to the success of this dish. Once the wine reduces almost to a glaze, is the moment for us to add the other ingredients. What I like to add at this point is chicken stock. And after you add the chicken stock, a few spoonfuls of peas. You can use fresh peas or frozen peas. They will cook in the sauce and give us exactly a wonderful combination of extra flavors. They have the sweetness of the young peas mixed together with the wine, with the stock. All these elements are coming together and releasing within the context of the sauce their own personality. If you do your job right, all these personalities will be like notes within the context of a song or a melody, and together you will have music. If you push too hard one side, or if you push too hard the other side, and all these elements don't come together, then you have a sauce that looks beautiful, but doesn't taste as good as it looks. And that is always what you want to avoid. Once you cook the sauce for about 5 to 6 minutes of a medium-high heat, and it's reduced to the right consistency, at this point you want to lower it down to medium-low, and then you want to add the chicken. Let the chicken braise freely into the sauce. How much time? It depends from the scallopini that you had. These, I still kept them fairly thick. I estimate this particular one, a good 6 minutes, maybe 8 minutes will be perfect. But remember, we have medium-low heat, and as this cooks, it releases its own juices into the sauce, giving it the personality that we're looking for. And the sauce, slowly but surely, is also reducing, increasing this wonderful aspect, this flavor that we're looking for. It's going to be spectacular. The last addition that we're going to make to the dish at this point is the addition of the butter. What I prefer to use when it comes to butter is non-salted butter, or unsalted. I call it non-salted. Trust my wife crazy every time I do this. It's, for God's sake, Nick, you've been in America all this time, speak English. I go, I got an accent, and it's cute. Sometimes it works, most time it doesn't. Now here we go. Ooh, mamma mia, perfetto. We turn off the heat, and now we're ready to plate. Plating to me is the aspect that I love the most. I love the most because it's the moment in which this vision that I had inside my own head finally comes together into a reality. What I love the most is the sauce. I like to put the sauce all the way around. Now, there's always a fight at my house between me and my wife. My wife always tells me at this point I should stop. But I say, how can I stop? I want to put a little bit more garlic right in here, and then a little bit of sun-dried tomatoes right in there so you can see it. And then at this point she smacks me on the back of the head and says, enough is enough! But I cannot stop. This is exactly what I want. Scallopini di pollo, sun-dried tomatoes, peas, and garlic alla Stellino. Enjoy.